Hey, in this practice, we're going to focus on your breath in forward bends. So you'll be guided through a Vinyasa yoga style practice where we'll really be using the breath to help to deepen and relax into those forward bends. I'm Irene, a yoga and mindfulness teacher, and do subscribe to the Antara Yoga channel in order to see the other yoga, mindfulness and breathing practices. So we're going to begin the practice in a seated position. If you usually have one leg in front, you might choose to alternate that. So bringing the opposite leg in front, that's slightly maybe more awkward cross-legged position. And then you can just slowly reach the arms a little forward, allowing still the spine to be a little long, and just turn the gaze of the head to look down. From here, you want to be allowing the breath to slow down and lengthen. Seeing if you can breathe slowly in through your nose, and then breathing slowly out through the nose. If it feels comfortable, you could play a little bit with leaning a little bit further forward, so arms reaching further out in front. You do feel this in the lower back, or you notice the back of the hips are lifting, you can just bring the hands a little closer and still creating that slight forward fold from the front of the hips. Keep allowing most of the focus here to be on your breathing. So you really want to try to establish that steady breath that we'll use throughout the practice. Staying here, one more breath. And then you can slowly from here walk the hands a little over to the right side, dropping again the head down. And you can really choose kind of how far you want to be walking the hands over, if you want to allow the head to drop down completely. And then slowly from here, walking the hands back through the middle. You can stay a little folded forward, and then hands come all the way to the opposite side. Again, head drops down, hips stay heavy. So you can be breathing into the right side of the torso here, that's sort of lengthening as you fold and twist to the left. And then inhaling, walking the hands back through the center, and slowly from here coming back up to your seated position. From here, we'll roll over onto the hands and knees. So just finding your way, hands under the shoulders, knees can be under your hips. And we're going to reach the right leg back. So you can start with tucking first that right toe back, and then you're going to slowly lift the right leg up and coming to balance here. Now, if you feel comfortable here, you can play a little bit with also reaching the left arm forward. And then we'll use the exhale to bring right knee, maybe also left arm comes into the chest, rounding through the spine. And then on the inhale, reaching the arm and leg away again. Doing this a few times, exhaling as you round, draw into the chest. Inhaling, lengthening away. And just doing this a couple more times, keeping your left knee and right hand nice and heavy. So really dictating the pace of the movement to link with the pace of your breath. The next time from here that you reach the right leg out and left arm out, you can just pause a moment here Really try to find that length, but also that strength through your belly. Exhaling now, left hand can come down, right knee comes through the chest, and you're stepping that right foot forward between your hands. You can let the hips sink a little forward and come up on your inhale, hands coming towards your hips. So we're in our low lunge here, our Anjaneyasana, letting that left hip flexor relax and lengthen. You can either keep the hands on the hips or you might slide the hands to the knees. So you're kind of pressing the hands towards the knees, drawing the spine a little back. And staying here 2 more breaths. Using them when you're ready, that next inhale, to slowly reach both arms up and over the head. Exhaling, hands come down, and from here we're going to shift the weight of the hips back and coming to our half split pose. So if there's a bit of more tightness in that right knee can stay a little bent here as you shift the hips back. If it's comfortable, you could lift the right toes, maybe lengthen through that right leg, and trying to keep the chest relatively open rather than kind of rounding and through the spine. So you'll see that theme a little bit here in that practice, and this will really help to create that space through the breath as you move through your forward bends. So staying here 2 more breaths. Keep slowing and steadying each inhale and each exhale. And then on that next inhale, you can bend into your right knee, pivot to the long side of the mat, bending through your right knee and lengthen your left leg. Now hips can be kind of high. If it doesn't feel comfortable with the fingertips on the ground, you could have hands in front of the heart. If you're relatively comfortable here in the hips though, you could sink the hips down and maybe even spinning the toes of the left foot up. That really helps open through that left side. But if you're here, that's also a really nice way to work in the pose and lengthen in a thigh and through the leg. Now we're going to alternate a few times from side to side here, so you can shift the hips to the opposite side. Now bending into that left knee, hips could sink down, right leg starts to lengthen, and then moving to the opposite side. And we'll do this just a few times, again moving with the breath. You can play a little bit with how much you want to use the hands here. You might use the fingertips a little bit more for support. If you want to kind of work a little bit more on engaging the legs, you could see if you can keep the hands hovering. So you're really using the strength of the legs as well as working on the flexibility here. And we'll just do this a couple more times to each side. So again, if your hips are higher, that's absolutely fine. And then the next time you come into that right side, just pausing a moment here, and then you can slowly start to turn back to the front, drop that left knee down, and come from here back to the hands and knees. We're going to come a few breaths in child's pose, so knees can be a little wider, big toes together, sinking hips back. And if it's comfortable, head can drop down. So staying here 3 more breaths. And then from here, you can slowly come up towards your hands and knees again. So this time we're going to reach the left leg back behind, slowly starting to lift that left leg, engaging through the leg. Option, if you like here, to also reach your right arm out. And then exhaling, knee, arm comes into the chest, maybe round through the spine. And inhaling, reaching the arm and leg away again. Exhale. And inhale. And throughout here, you want your left hand to be heavy, left fingers spreading. Weight kind of not leaning too much to the right, but a little bit more to the middle. So we'll just do this a couple more times. The next time you reach that left leg and maybe right arm forward, taking a moment to pause here. And then exhaling, right hand can come down, left foot steps forward towards your hands. And from here, coming up on your inhale, bringing the hands to the hips. So you're really allowing the front of your right hip to lengthen here. Top of the right foot can be nice and heavy. Hands can stay on the hips, or you can bring the hands to the knees. Lengthen up through the spine. And allowing as best as you can here also the front of the body to be long. So sort of thinking lower belly lifting up, chest and head lifting up to the ceiling. And then exhaling from here, you can bring the hands down, shift the hips back. Left leg now starts to lengthen for our half splits. Again, if left hamstring feels a little tender, slightly bend through that left knee. You could even have the toes down, but that little bend. And you're doing your best here to keep the chest open, again, spine long. Even if that kind of means more hovering, if it feels uncomfortable with the fingers on the ground. Staying here one more breath. And then you can slowly bend into that left knee on your inhale. Exhale, coming to the long side of the mat. So we bend into that left knee, right leg lengthens. Again, hip could sink down if you prefer here. And then we'll move a few times from side to side. So as best as you can, you want each inhale and exhale to be equal. And you can kind of start with this good foundation of allowing the beginning of that inhale to be slow and steady. And then seeing if you can maintain that as you move to your exhale. Just doing this a few more times again from side to side. And if knees or hips feel a little uncomfortable, you can do this while keeping the hips that little bit higher. And then the next time you come to that left side, pausing a moment here, turning slowly to the front, and then coming back to your hands and knees. And from here, coming once more back to your child's pose. So we'll use that next inhale to come back to the hands and knees. You can tuck from here the toes under, and then slowly lifting hips up and back, coming towards a downward dog. Now, if the hamstrings still feel a little tight, you could play with first lifting maybe the heels, Then maybe slightly bending the knees so spine can maintain that length and hips can be actively reaching up and back. And like we were doing the balancing on the hands and knees, the palms here also want to be heavy, fingers spreading wide. So from here, playing a little bit with alternating the legs. So you can bend right knee, left leg starts to lengthen. And then slowly changing sides. So left leg bends and right leg starts to lengthen. And just doing this, say, a few times from side to side. So as you bend one leg, it should give you that little bit more space to lengthen through the opposite leg. Doing this one more time to each side. And then pausing for one last breath in your downward dog. And then slowly from here, we'll walk the feet forward to the front of the mat. On your inhale, coming with the feet about hip distance apart. Knees can be a little bent here. Holding the opposite elbows and letting your head hang. So pausing in this standing forward fold, Uttanasana. And if you like, starting to rock that little bit from side to side. Really allow your breath here to be full. Relax the head completely. And we'll stay here 2 more breaths. If you're rocking, coming slowly back towards the middle, releasing the arms, and then slightly bending the knees as you roll all the way from here up to standing. Take a couple of circles of the shoulders. And then we're going to move through some sun salutations towards some standing poses. So feet can be together or slightly apart. Inhaling from here, reaching the arms high, looking up. Exhale, folding forward, slightly bend the knees as you need here. Now inhale, start to lengthen the chest halfway up. Exhaling, hands come heavy as you step back to your plank pose. Now in that plank, see if you can here also lengthen the legs. So thinking heels back, legs long. Exhale, lower down from here to your belly. Now untuck the toes, again lengthened through the legs. Feet stay heavy for your cobra pose. Exhaling from here, coming all the way back through the hands and knees. And then lifting the hips up for your downward dog. From the downward dog, you can allow your left heel to lift a little as right leg lifts all the way up and back for your 3-legged dog. Now you want here hips to be relatively square, so notice if right hip is kind of spinning out to the side and see if you can adjust that a little bit by drawing your right hip a little down and left hip keeps lifting up. Now draw that right knee all the way into the chest, weight comes forward here to the arms, and then using the inhale again to reach the right leg back once more. We'll do this a couple of times. Right knee comes into the chest as you draw the belly a little in, and then using that next breath on the inhale to reach the right leg back. Exhale, right knee comes into the chest, weight comes forward. Inhaling, Draw that right leg back. Doing this 2 more times, moving with your breath. And then this time as you shift that weight forward, right foot steps towards the hands. Left heel stays lifted, and from here we're coming up to our high lunge. So hands can come first towards the hips, and then you can slowly from here come up with the upper body, keeping hips in one line nice and square, and that feeling of lengthening again up out through your torso. Arms can come high on your next breath. And with your left leg, you're really thinking kind of long with that left leg, left heel reaching up and back. Staying here, one more breath. Exhaling, lowering the hands slowly towards the ground. And from here, you can step back to that downward dog. Now we'll take a couple of breaths in downward dog or in child's pose before we transition to the opposite side. So if the knees are down, use that next inhale to come back to your downward dog. This time left leg reaches high on the inhale. So again, if you can square the hips and lift your right heel a little up. And then exhale, draw that left knee into the chest. Bring the weight into your arms. And inhaling, reaching the left leg back again. Exhale, knee comes to the chest, weight comes forward. Inhaling, 3-legged dog. Doing this 2 more times. Again, still trying to keep the breath long and deep. And then the next time you bring that left knee forward, foot can step between the hands. Slowly coming up with the upper body to our high lunge. Left big toe wants to stay heavy here as you reach the arms up on your next breath in. You might just take that time again to adjust the hips here. If you're a little wobbly, you can adjust the feet a little. And then once you find the position, just pausing here for a few breaths in and out through the nose. So seeing if you can explore the pose through your breath. And then slowly on the exhale, you can drop the hands down, stepping from here back towards your downward dog, pausing a couple of breaths, downward dog or child's pose. So if your knees are on the ground, you can transition back towards your downward dog, using that next inhale to come towards the front of the mat as you open the chest, exhaling to fold forward over the legs. Inhale, come all the way up to standing as you look up, and exhaling, lowering the arms back down again. So we're going to come to balance now on our left leg. So you can spread the toes of the left foot. Left leg is nice and active here as you slowly lift your right leg up. Now you can either rest the hands just on top of the knee here, allowing that right knee to lift, Or you could use the help of the hands, guiding the knee a little closer up towards your right shoulder. Whichever option you choose, you want to allow that left leg to be long, kind of thinking lifting up through the leg and up through the torso. And with the upper body, you're trying to stack the shoulders above the hips. Staying here for one more breath. And then you can slowly on the exhale release. Shake the legs and change sides. So we'll balance now on that right leg. Left leg starts to become light. Left knee starts to lift. Hands again, your choice can be just resting on the thigh or with the help of the hands. Knee starts to lift a little higher towards that left shoulder. And again, thinking up with every inhale. And with every exhale, you can be still grounding through your right foot. So from pressing that right foot down, it really gives us that length and space to lift up. Staying here, one more breath. And then on the exhale, you can slowly release the leg, shake the legs, and once more come towards the front of the mat. So we'll go through another sun salutation. So reaching the arms high as you breathe in. Exhaling, really maintain that length in the spine as you fold. Inhale, now lengthen the chest halfway up. Exhaling, hands come heavy, coming into our plank. So pausing one breath in the plank pose, and then use the exhale to lower down. Inhaling, coming up to your cobra pose, and exhaling from here back to our downward dog. So inhaling once more, reaching that right leg up and back. Exhale, right knee comes into the chest this time, right foot steps immediately forward. Left foot comes a little closer, left toe spinning out. Hands come to the hips, and we're folding halfway forward here. So hands could stay on the hips, or you could rest the hands on the shin, so just below the right knee. And if it feels uncomfortable with that right leg straight, you could slightly bend the right knee, but over time working as best as you can to lengthen through the legs and lengthen also forward with the upper body. Now, staying here one more breath, so gaze can look kind of forward or slightly down. And then inhaling from here, bring the hands back to the hips, come up to standing, feet come to the long side of the mat and walk the feet a little wider. You want a nice wide stance here. Hands can be again on your hips. Exhaling as you start to fold halfway forward. Now you can bring the fingertips down under the shoulders. Again, if you need, slightly bend the knees. And then you can pause here. So either keeping the legs long and the chest long here, or you could play a little bit with folding, maybe walking hands more in line with the feet and dropping the weight of the head down. Now really actively using your breath to lengthen through the spine on your inhale, and exhale, seeing where you can release and soften. Staying here 3 more breaths. And then you can use slowly that next inhale to open the chest halfway up. Exhaling, hands come to the hips as you come up to standing. Now turn the feet back forward to the front of the mat so you can slightly adjust the feet again. And then we're once more going to fold forward towards our right leg. So again, you can have the hands on the hips here, or hands could slide a little down the legs. And if you do want to play a little bit with folding a little deeper, trying to do that while still keeping the spine relatively long. So for most of us, that will mean keeping the chest that little bit lifted rather than trying to fold and simply rounding in the upper back. You do want to keep some of the weight back in your back leg, so try to keep that left leg nice and heavy. And then from here, we'll bend that right knee, drop the hands down and step back to our downward dog. Pausing a couple of breaths, downward dog or child's pose. So this time, using that next inhale to reach the left leg up and back. Exhale, left knee comes through the chest, step that left foot forward. Right foot can step a little closer, feet start to ground, and we come towards our half kind of forward fold here. Again, if you need, slightly bend through that left knee, but allowing that feeling of leaning a little forward to that left leg and lengthening also through the upper body. Now, if you did lose your breath, see if you can bring the focus back again, staying here one more breath. And then if the hands are down, you can bring the hands to the hips, come up on the inhale, turn the feet to the long side of the mat and walk the feet a little wider. Now hands can interlace behind the back, using the inhale to lengthen nice and high. Exhaling, folding forward. Again, you can fold halfway or folding a little deeper. And again, if you need, slightly bend the knees. If you are comfortable here, you could play with leaning towards the toes while still keeping that small bit of heaviness through the heels. Exploring the pose with your breath. Choosing a version of the pose that feels comfortable for your breath. Staying here one more breath. And then you can slowly release the arms, come all the way back up as you breathe in. Exhale, turning back to your left leg. And once more, we start to fold towards that left leg. So you can again slide the hands a little down the leg. If you prefer to keep the hands on the hips, you can do so, but gaze can look close towards your left big toe. And we'll stay here for 2 more breaths. Slowly then on that next exhale, bend through that left knee, step back. You can transition again straight to downward dog or drop the knees and come to your child's pose. So on your next inhale, you're going to transition to the hands and knees. And then you can just come to sit down and reach the legs out in front. So we're going to come with the legs a little wider out to the side. Now, if this feels a bit challenging for the hips or for your back here, you can either sit up, so placing some sort of towel or cushion under the hips, Or you could play with just bringing the legs a little closer in, or even slightly bending the knees. So as you practice this pose more often, it will get that little bit more comfortable here. And from this position, we're going to bend the right knee now. So sole of the right foot comes into the left leg. Left arm reaching out to the left leg, right arm lifts up and starts to lean over to the left side. Now, as you lean to the left, you want to still keep your right hip nice and heavy. And then gaze could look a little up as you also start to spin the chest up. Now we'll pause in the pose a few breaths as you start to explore the pose again with your breath. Seeing if you can still keep that equalness with your inhale and with your exhale. Staying here, one more breath. And then slowly on your next breath coming up. Now we're going to bring the right hand down, sliding the weight over so we lift the hips up. Sole of the left foot can be heavy here, so you can adjust slightly that right hand if you need. And then reaching the left arm up and starting to gaze up here. Now, if you want to play a little bit with the balance, you could make your left leg light, maybe lifting also that left leg a little up. Otherwise, left big toe can be down or the whole of the left foot can be down. Staying here, one more breath. Exhale, slowly releasing, dropping the hips down and coming back to our nice wide seated position, Upavistha Konasana. So we'll change sides. So left leg is going to bend. Sole of the left foot comes in to our right leg. Great. Now we're going to, from here, reach the right arm over to the right leg. Left arm reaches up and starts to lean a little to that right side. You can start to turn the gaze to look up here. And then pausing in the pose and starting to focus in on your breath. If it doesn't feel so comfortable being far folded, you could stay a little bit more upright, still keeping that focus on your breath. And then slowly on that next inhale coming up. Now left hand comes down. We lean a little into that left arm as the hips lift and reaching from here the right arm up. And really sending a little bit of weight into that left hand. Maybe coming onto the big toe of the right leg. Maybe even lifting the leg. You might need to adjust the arms here to give yourself that space. Pausing here a couple more breaths. So if you prefer with the big toe on the ground, absolutely fine. And then on your exhale, slowly releasing. And then you can extend both legs again out to the side. And finally, we're going to fold forward to the middle of our legs. So reaching both arms up on your next inhale. Exhaling, hands come in front, gaze can be heavy looking down. And you can really judge here how much you want to lean forward. It could be a very small lean so that the back of the hips can still maintain that heaviness. Or you could play a little bit more with leaning forward. We'll stay here for 5 more breaths. So allowing the breath to slow down, easing yourself into the pose. And for the last couple of breaths, just checking that your toes aren't spinning in or rolling out. So you want to still feel that your feet are kind of facing upright. Staying here, 2 last breaths. And then slowly making your way up, bending the knees, bringing the knees in towards each other. Now legs reach out in front and we'll come to lie down on the back and rest in our Shavasana. So letting the body be heavy and sink down. And now you can really bring all of the focus to the breath as the body lies in stillness. If your mind starts to wander away from your breathing, you can gently bring the focus and attention back again. And then just starting to slowly bring the awareness back to your body again. So wiggling your fingers, slowly wiggling your toes. And then you can reach the arms overhead, legs come together, giving the body a nice final stretch. Maybe taking a deep breath or a yawn here. And then you can gradually bend the knees, rolling from here over onto one side. And finding your way back up to your seated position. So thanks for joining me through this practice. I hope you really got that chance to connect a little bit more with the breath as we moved through those forward bends. So I am curious to know how you got on. So do share your experience in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to follow along with this series, and I'll see you next time.